Do. Hello, everybody. Let's make sure this thing is going. Let me give it a second to turn on. Drink some water. Okay, looks like we're live. I'm going to organize some things on my desktop real quick. Hey, Cooler Man, welcome. So I told my patrons this time that if they send me questions in the Discord forum, that's only for my patrons, that I will answer their questions first, just so you guys know. I might be answering questions from there, as well as in the chat. If you guys want to ask me questions, make sure to type question in all caps, and then I can easily spot it in the chat window. Otherwise, it gets too busy, and it'll get really boring for you guys to watch me sift through questions that I can't find. So we'll try to make it a little more exciting for you. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm Jason Brubaker. I've been making comics for a long time, I guess, but professionally, I guess I would consider myself a professional now, but professionally or full-time, I've been doing it for about 3 years now, ever since 2015, I think, is when I moved here back home to Idaho. I worked in the animation and film industry in Hollywood for a long time, for about almost 20 years, doing storyboards and viz dev and concept design and animation, and worked at DreamWorks and all kinds of stuff. And now I'm just doing my own comics. That's my goal, is to just keep doing my own comics. And so there you go. So that's me. And this comic is one called Phobos. And it's one I started a long time ago when I was in high school. But I decided to redo it, restart it. Excuse me. And this is the relaunch. So if you guys are interested in it, you can actually get the first issue by becoming a patron. A $5 patron, I will send out the first 110-page book to patrons. So anyway, that's that. So let's get started. Sometimes drawing in front of people is really nerve-wracking, and right now I feel that. So let's see if we can do this. And just so you guys are also aware, I will probably not talk too much, but when I do talk, I will jump into the questions and answer questions. Thumbs. Oh, I spelled that really wrong. So I'll most likely be kind of quiet as I'm working, and then I can't do two things at once. See, I can't even type right now while I'm talking. This would be sketch. So put on some music, put this on in the background, hang out with me, and ask your questions in the comments. And when I'm kind of tired of drawing, I'll take a break and I'll look at the questions. So there you go. That's what I got for you. Actually, I'm going to do this different. No, I'll do it like this. I don't want to sketch this too much because I want to do these backgrounds a little differently. Okay. I'm going to do this. Hey guys, welcome. I see you in the chat. Forgive me as I sit here and think. Oops. Hey Nick, welcome. Sorry guys, I'll get to the comments here in a section. In a segment. In a second. I just want to like get this bridge element, or this whatever this is called, drawbridge, pier, whatever it is, kind of worked out, figured out. There's some things I don't like. I don't like how you can see through it right here, because it makes it look too thin. I think it needs to be a little thicker. But I do like how it looks. It's not quite there yet. Like the perspective or something is a little off. Oops. Come on. What's going on? That kind of does it. Yeah, it's okay. I'll get to more of this with lighting as well. So this is just kind of the basic shapes, and then I'll kind of hit it up a little harder with the right lights. What am I looking for? Wood darks. Okay, I think I can buy that. Yeah, I can buy that. Okay. Maybe I should add a little shadows. Get the ground layer to be a different tone. It's a little weird, this post, because it kind of blends into the other post. But I don't necessarily want to explain everything visually, so I don't know if it matters too much. Okay. Oh, snap. That was my arm snapping. All right, let me look at my patrons' questions first. Question: any comics or books or movies not by you that you would recommend? Oh boy. I always have a horrible time with that question. Let's see, any comics or books or movies? See, the problem with that question is when I'm working on something, I'm not thinking about anything else. And so it catches me off guard. And you would think that I could just switch gears and be like, yes, I remember this movie I really liked. But the thing is, I can't remember anything ever until I'm in that kind of frame of mind where I'm discussing movies and books and stuff. My dad and I always try to talk about movies that we liked, and then we both just sit there going, what movies have we seen? I can't remember any of them. So I apologize, but I'll kind of try to be thinking about it, and I'll just throw out things that I like during this stream. How's that? If something comes to mind, I'll say it, because there's a lot of things I like. You know, to be really general, like Miyazaki's movies, I love his stuff. I'm in love with a lot of the 90s artists that formed Image Comics, and that's kind of what created my style, I think, was it came out of that, the love for those guys. I love The Far Side, Gary Larson. I love Bill Watterson's Calvin and Hobbes. So that's the stuff I grew up on, you know. Trying to think of a movie. There was a movie I saw recently that I liked. Can't remember it, though. So maybe I'll stop boring you guys, because that's pathetic. I need people to say, did you like this movie? And I'll be like, yes or no. All right. I see a bunch of questions in the comments. Let me go to those. Whitney says, question, having a hard time visualizing print size versus what I see on my screen. What is the most efficient way to figure out if your art is too big or small for print in early stages of page creation? I think the easiest thing you can do is, if you know the dimensions of your book, print it out. And just print it out on whatever printer you have. Print out a page. Get it as close as you can visually on screen, and then print it out the dimensions that you would like to see it printed. And then you immediately can see if the font's too small, or if it's too big, or if things are getting lost. Print it out and even crop an eighth of an inch off of the edges, or even a quarter of an inch off of the edges, just to see, is it going to fit on a page nicely, and that's the best bet. I mean, really is. And if you have a laser printer, that's kind of the closest thing you can get as far as what colors will look like once they're offset printed as well. So it's still different, but if you have access to a laser printer, a color laser printer, it's great for just checking to see how it feels, how the colors look, the size of everything. There's nothing beats that, just actually printing it out. because otherwise it's just a guess. I had to do that with Phobos. So I made this little book here, and I made this so that I could see if the gray tone works, and I made it to see if what is it, the texture, the grainy film grain texture works when it's printed. I made it to see if the lettering is the right size, because this is a little smaller than I'm used to printing. This is like more of a manga size. Well, this is a manga size book. It's just not as thick. So I wasn't sure, how it would look. And so I paid to have this little print made, this little test printing made. And even though it's not, the last pages aren't finished, I really wanted to make sure I was getting it right. So that's my suggestion. That's the best way to go, I think. And if you don't know if that font is correct, the right size, then compare it to books that you like. That's really the best way to get the printing to be exactly what you want. Is find a book that you love, like the font size or the font style or the way that it's laid out or the size, and compare it to that. And you have a bunch of great guides if you just do that. So good question. Nick has a question. How many cups of coffee do you drink, and how many bathroom trips do you make each day? Well, this is actually water, so this still does add to my bathroom trips. I have about 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day at this point. Believe it or not, it seems like I'm drinking coffee all the time, but it's because I have a coffee heater, and so it always stays warm, and most of the time I never finish it. Okay, Nick, another question. Oh wait, no, this isn't Nick. G Castro 3D asks, can you talk again about your decision to use Photoshop over Clip Studio for this project? Sure. It mainly comes down to that I've developed this style in Photoshop, and I'm comfortable with Photoshop. And like a bunch of the pages I started a long time ago when I was only using Photoshop. So I had brushes and techniques and just a working pattern that just worked really well in Photoshop. And then I learned Clip Studio after that, and I like it for drawing, but when I started working on this, I was like, well, either I convert my brushes over and convert over my techniques to Clip Studio, which wouldn't be that hard. It's just, once you're comfortable with something, I don't like changing it. And so, that's why I suggest to people, if you were working on a PC, don't get a Mac and all new Mac things because you're comfortable on a PC. If you're on a Mac, don't get a PC because you're comfortable on a Mac. If you're used to certain software, sometimes it's better to, I think most of the time it's better to stick with what's comfortable. Another thing I noticed with Clip Studio, even though I really like it, Clip Studio, when used with this Cintiq that I have, is the Cintiq HD22. I bought it like 3 years ago, and it's not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily a brand new kind of model 3 years ago either. It's probably a 5-year-old model. And for whatever reason, when I'm drawing lines on Clip Studio, it's a lot crisper, but because this monitor isn't like really high pixels, high definition pixels, I can see the pixels, and so it gets kind of pixely when I'm drawing, and it bothers my eyes more in Clip Studio. Now this is weird and I don't understand it, but it bothers my eyes more in Clip Studio than it does in Photoshop. Photoshop kind of smooths things out a little bit more when you're viewing it, and so my eyes don't pick up on that the really crisp thin lines that are pixely. And it's weird, I had to actually go get some reading glasses just in the last month because my eyesight deteriorated pretty quickly in the last 6 months, and it's while I was working with Clip Studio. So I'm not saying it's Clip Studio's fault, but it'd be nice to blame it on something, right? But since I've gone back to Photoshop, it's been easier on my eyes, and so I think it's mainly the Cintiq that's doing that with Clip Studio. If I had a Cintiq that was like a Retina display, like really high pixel count, then I don't think it would be that. I don't think it would do that, because when I draw on my iPad, it's a real high pixel count, and it's really nice on my eyes. But this, I'm staring real close, and it's like I can see these little pixely dots, and it just gives me a headache. So so in that sense, Photoshop is easier on my eyes. So it doesn't mean Clip Studio is bad, though. It's just where I'm at with my tool set right now. Let's see if there's any more questions before I move on and draw any more. Keeman asks, do you have any interest in Spawn comics? Not anymore. I really did when I was younger. Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, his Sub-City Spider-Man, that was the subtitle of those issues, were the first comics that I physically went out and bought with my own money as a teenager. You know, I guess I was in junior high, I think, at that time. And it just blew me away. And that's what made me want to do comics, was his Spider-Man comics. And then I tried to collect all the other Spider-Mans that he did. And then I got into Eric Larson because he took over after Todd McFarlane. And then they all moved to Image. And I was just eating up everything that they did. Spawn, Savage Dragon, Wildcats by Jim Lee, and all those people. It was just like amazing. So I don't read it anymore. I think I lost interest in... Okay, so I'll tell you exactly when I lost interest in Spawn. It was not just when Todd McFarlane quit drawing it. That did really help me lose interest, though. It was more or less when the early issues had this counter. Like, he was using his powers and the counter was counting down. And so that to me was such an amazing like build up to like, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden the counter went away because he had, I don't remember the reasons why, but he had like unlimited power all of a sudden. And that counter idea was thrown away. And I know it's so that it could just go on forever and you wouldn't have to, have any a reset or anything. But I just lost interest completely because I was like, I don't want to just be, I don't want to just have a carrot dangled in front of me that I just keep having to follow no matter what. I want to see this thing. I want to see where this story is going and ending, And if you want to continue it, you can continue it with some other way, I would think. But that really kind of made me kind of go, whatever. I don't care anymore. And I just have never collected it since then. So, and honestly, I don't like a lot of the direction Spawn has gone in, what I've seen either. So it is pretty dark for the sake of just being dark. And I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. But I don't know. I just lost interest in it. So there you go. Spawn. Let's see. Here's another one by Chris. Comment. It's funny to see all the artists around the same age have such a similar style. Me, you, Scotty Young, Sam Keith, Jamie Hewlett really shows through some, among others. Yeah, and I think it's because, we're all influenced with the same artists that we grew up with. And I really think that's what creates your style, is what, all the artists you're influenced by when you're younger, or when you get into art, I guess. I'm not as much as influenced, hardly at all, by newer artists now. There's things that I really like that newer artists do, and it'll take me a little while to incorporate those things. But as far as the thing that I really love seeing and doing myself, it's based on that stuff that I grew up with in the 90s. So, And I'm sure all those other guys feel the same way. Or maybe. Let's see. I see another question. Hero says, Q, do you know that you can use the polygon lasso tool and hitting the alt changes the free lasso tool so you can do straight lines? Okay, this is one of those things that I know and I've been shown how to do this, but my brain does not function in a way that can allow me to do this. Like, I don't know why. People I worked with at DreamWorks would do it, and I'd be like, "How are you doing that?" And they'd show me, and then I'd sit there and work at it and try to get the hand-eye coordination on, and I just never was able to get it. So yes, I'm aware about it, but I'm not smart enough to be able to do it. Another question, 2 more questions, then I'll get back to drawing, unless there's something else on Patreon. Oh, I got a patron question. How do you keep your style consistent during a project that spans over a year? I think the main thing is you have to do a style you love and something that's kind of natural to you, focusing on your strengths so that it comes more naturally. If you focus on your weaknesses and trying to imitate someone else's style, you're always going to be battling to match that style, and you'll always stray from it. And then you might find another style that you're more interested in matching, and so it's always going to fluctuate. So there's that. And it's also just making rules for yourself up front. What are the rules you want to follow for the styles? And then it also comes with experience, like years and years of drawing and experience to get to a point where you can kind of show some consistency in your work. And that's just one of those things that comes with practice and practice and practice. And it's one of those things that helps you look more professional if you can keep consistent with the style. But that comes with practice. Okay, so the next questions I will answer in a little bit. I'm going to jump back into this and see what we can do now with this drawing. Okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to do characters? I don't know if that hand looks very good, but I think I'm going to settle for it. delete. That pinky finger is pretty big. I feel like my stream looks locked up, but I guess it's not. I guess it's still working, right? See, now he's easy to get. Now when it comes time to draw the girl, it takes me 400 times as long. So instead of drawing her, let's work on the water. Yay. I'm going to reload my page because I can't see anything updating on the stream. It looks like it's locked up. So I bet if I reload it. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, good. Sure. That don't do it. You guys can probably hear me swallowing. It's like Bob Ross. I remember when I was a kid and I'd watch Bob Ross, I called him the guy who swallows a lot because you could always hear him swallowing. Oh, if I could live up to Bob Ross's status, then that would be pretty good, though. Speaking of Bob Ross, I saw a Bob Ross stuffed animal the other day. I was like, what? That's Bob Ross. See if I can do this. Thinking of having some sort of big cement block or concrete block up here. She's like reaching and grabbing. I was going to have her hand up here bracing on this, but I want her to be pointing instead to the water. See if I can do it. She's wearing a dress, so it's not really the best pose for her, but I might have to rethink that a little bit. It's a great action pose, but but not the best for a dress. Should I do a Rob Liefeld and cover up our feet with rocks so that I don't have to draw them? There we go. Poor Rob Liefeld. He gets so much crap from people. I'm not sure if I like it or not. I gotta be careful. I'm gonna start singing. It'll be forever on the internet. Oops. She looks too happy. And now to figure out the clothes. Huh? Oh, it's on a different layer. Ugh, these layers. I love them and then I hate them. Okay, this leg is confusing. This is coming right at me. Does that work? Oops. Oh. Okay, getting close. This is one of those ones I'll have to draw over top of. Sometimes I can get away without doing it on the like characters like Frank, but the girl, sheesh. Why do I gotta have girls in my comics? I don't know if this would, this dress, I should just do a different angle. Am I losing this battle, guys? I like that sketch the best. I don't like when I clean up the sketch. It like loses it. Oops, cancel. Well, I'll just keep working on it. I might come back to it though. Get some of these other guys drawn. Okay, let's look at some comments. Do I have any more on Patreon? Not yet. Okay, let's see, where did I leave off? Fav Devon asks, how are your updates going to look in the infinite scrolling? Will it be like Citra or more like incremental little chunks? I'm probably going to redo some of the pages that I've put up already, just so that the text is even more legible for when you're looking at it on a phone. And one of my patrons convinced me of that. And because either way, I have to reconstruct them for the web viewing experience, and so I might as well just kind of push it more towards webtoons. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to put them all. That doesn't mean I'm going to put them all together in a big file. I'm still going to have them as individual pages, but I might pull out some of the text and put it in front of or after panels. That way, it's easier to read on the computer in that scrolling format, but it still breaks it up into panels and it still stacks them. So it's kind of, I'm trying to split the difference as much as I can. But my main goal is to make it real easy for people to read it on their mobile and computer. And then obviously if they want to get the book, that would be preferable because that's the format that it was intended for. But I want it to be really easily accessible for people who have access to it. You know, I don't want it to be a cumbersome experience for them to read it on their phone. Charlena Hill asks, how did you find out you knew how to draw? How'd you come about your natural talent? I think when I was, when I was aware of it from a really young age. Not that I was talented, but that I loved to draw. And the earliest stuff I think we really have is like when I was like 5 or 6. You know, I started making a lot of little books. My mom still has a lot of those. And, you know, she kept a lot of it. And it was kind of obvious then that I really, really liked it more than the average kid. And so my parents were just really encouraging, like from a very young age, just kind of always like being impressed with what I did, you know. And then, you know, when I started drawing in school, you know, classmates would be like, wow, you're really good, you know. And so it kind of just kept building that confidence. And so I just kept going for it. And it was the thing that kind of I got praised for more than anything. And so, you know, that definitely motivates you and encourages you to keep going when you suck at sports or something else like that, which was my, you know, if I was really good at sports and everyone encouraged me at that, I probably would have pushed in that direction more. But kind of naturally fell in love with art and people let me know, you know, and then I encouraged and motivated me from a very young age to keep going at it. Good question. Let's see. Hero says, how many hours can you work in a row without losing focus? I think when I would work like storyboards, that was a very high focus, high demanding job of your focus and your brain. And I would kind of put a limit at about 6 hours before my brain would just start. It would be hard for me to keep focused. And, you know, and that's taking little breaks and lunch breaks and stuff in between. But I would say it's probably about the same. I can stay more focused longer on my own projects when I'm really into them. But still, if you're doing it every day, it's hard to focus for a long period of time. Now, I can do it for a long period of time if I'm really, really into something. And my wife thinks I'm crazy. I'm like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, you know, but it's, you know, it's because you love it and you're just love working on it and you see the progress coming along and you're like, yes, and you keep going. And, if you're not tired, you just keep going. If no one's interrupting you, keep going. If you don't have to eat dinner, you keep going, And so there's times when you can really keep going. Or I can. But I try not to do it too much just because I'm working full time now on this stuff. And so if I do that too many days in a row, I burn myself out. And plus there's a lot of other things you juggle as a artist, publisher, online personality, it's like you have to kind of do all the other stuff too, because it's just me, you have to keep everything going. And so there's times when half the day or all the day is spent doing other things that they're not really creative, but I have to get them done. And so with that kind of stuff, it actually helps, because then it helps me to stay focused when I can work on stuff, Let's see, one more question, two more questions, three more questions. You mentioned, Vagabond Art says, you mentioned that you have a follower base outside the U.S. and like Jean Gerard Mobius. Are you familiar with or interested in other countries' comic stuff? Such as, maybe he's continuing that. Yeah, I do feel like there's a really good group of people that follow my stuff internationally, and I don't want to neglect them. I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, if I understand it correctly, but there's some of my best. I don't like calling them fans, but people that have just really supporters, and people dedicated to what I'm doing and been encouraging are international people. And so it's a lot of work and a lot of money not a lot of work, but it's a lot of money to make it accessible for them. But I feel like it's really worth it because they're such a big part of the audience, that follows my stuff. And when it comes to books, I would assume I look at my stats and it's a smaller group, definitely, than the U.S. group. I don't know if I'm answering the question right, so I feel like I'm hesitant to continue. But yeah. Let me read the question one more time. Am I familiar with other country stuff? I am. I do like other countries' art because it's just a different window into art. Art is treated differently than in other countries than it is in America with, the American comics. They're really American looking, and it all looks the same. But, you can go to see other countries' art, and you could pull like really neat inspiration from all of them, And so I do like, I think I probably absorb as much from American artists as I do other artists from other countries, at this stage in my life, because it's so easy with the internet now. Another question, Pixel Trader asks, I'm trying to improve my inking. Any suggestions or reference you could point me towards for learning blocking techniques? I'm trying to think. I started inking when Doug Tnaple showed me his Pentel brush pen in person, and he just gave me the really quick tutorial on it to just think of the tip of your brush as the tip of your pencil, and you're not trying to push down beyond that tip. So just keep that, what I'm saying? Keep that tip on the paper, and don't try to control the bend of the brush. Just try to keep that tip. And I started thinking of it that way, and I just started inking, and I did about 1,000 pages of Cithra with that Pentel brush pen. And I think I got a lot better by the time I was done. And so I don't really know any, there's crosshatch techniques and there's all kinds of different techniques, but I'm not aware of them, and I not enough to where I could direct you to a place. I really think the thing that helps the most is just to break the thing out, break out a brush if you want to learn it, and start going for it. You got to do 100 pieces of art with it before you become any good at it, and then 1,000 before you're a master, maybe. So it's just longevity, doing it over and over again, whatever it is you're trying to do, and put in that time. And yeah, there's little hints of things that will help you improve, but you still won't improve unless you put in the mileage first, So that's what I'm thinking anyway. Jason Bernard has another question. Are you aware that there are grammatical errors in Webtoons versions of Cithra? Yes. And I can't seem to get them to fix them because I don't have any control over it. So it's kind of sad and frustrating. And there's also errors with like some of the panels. They duplicated them or cut them off, and one panel was even dropped at one point. And I've emailed them to say, could we get this fixed? And nothing happened. And so in the middle of it, like I was just crushing those deadlines, trying to get them done, like being crushed under these deadlines. And so I kind of stopped trying to push these things that had errors in older posts. And at this point, I've kind of like forgotten about them and don't know where they are anymore, but I know it's riddled with errors. So it's a little frustrating because they are supposed to be the editors as well, but no one ever edited anything I sent them. Not like it should be their responsibility, but that's what they said they would do, but they never did. And they don't care. They don't seem to care about the mistakes that I point out. I don't know. Maybe I just approached it wrong. Maybe I need to be harder on them and send them stuff and say, you must fix it. I don't know. But I've just it's done now. So I'm like, okay, 100,000 people have read it. Oh, well. The books are fixed. Let's see. Yeah, I have grammatical problems with all my stuff anyway, even my new stuff. And I really appreciate the fans. Not fans. I really appreciate my online editors, because you guys point out stuff to me in my work, especially when I was putting it out on my own. You guys would point it out, and it would really help me edit in the process, And so, the very first time something would see the light of day, there's going to be mistakes, and then I refine it, and I can fix it and re-upload it. And so, but with Webtoons, I didn't have that luxury, and so it's just kind of, it's sad, but that's what it is. Hey, Michael, good to see you, buddy. Okay, I'm going to keep trying to draw so that I can actually have something kind of done by the time we get done with the stream. I might be a little quiet for a little while, guys, so bear with me. Oops. I don't know how he's getting down that low. Nice thing about drawing big, deformed, muscly guys is you don't have to get any of the muscles right. You can just be big and deformed. How long have I been streaming? Man, hour and a half already? Okay. I need to cut this off about 2 hours, so I'll get as much done as I can. Oops, I'm going to do this on another layer. trying to figure out what the sketch represents. Like, it's so, like, sketchy. I think this was supposed to be his leg, even though that doesn't quite make sense. And then she's just kind of, this is her arm. She's like leaning in. Or maybe this could be her legs. I don't know. Oops. If she's pointing, she's already pointing. Maybe I should have her hand up here. Okay, giving myself more questions now. More questions than answers. So if her hand's up here, she's just kind of getting down close. And then here's where she's pointing. Yes. With her big crazy fingers. Sorry, I'm laughing because it's just not not looking right. I like what I've drawn so far, but I don't have anything in my brain as far as what the rest of this is going to look like. Could she be like... something like that. I don't like this arm. This shoulder doesn't work for me. It's kind of because of her neck, maybe. Kind of works. What you say? Yeah, I like it. Okay, now we're going to cover up her feet with grass. For real this time. I don't want them to look like they're slipping off into the edge, over the edge. Slipping into the moat. It's like this guy's like laying on his belly practically. Yeah, I'm going to take away her pointing hand down here. Where is she? I'll just have to work on that arm a little better. It might change this side of her body too, but oh yeah, getting there though. It's getting there. Now she looks kind of twisted and funny. Okay, I'll try to at least get the sketches done before we stop. I need to look at my own hand for this. Too bad I can't draw left-handed. Oh, I could use my right hand if I rotate it. Wait, not that. No! Oh boy, what did I just do? Okay. I'll do it horizontally. And then I can look up to my left hand. Perfect. I have to redo redo the parts that I've already sketched. Boy, that still looks ugly. Ugh. There's parts that I can't stand how they look of this hand. Don't worry, guys. By the time this comes out, it's going to look really good. Just want it to be a nice silhouette of that hand. I'm willing to distort and mess up this these fingers as much as I have to make this silhouette read really clearly of this hand that he's pulling out of the moat. This is like basic drawing right here, guys. Struggling with it. The problem I find is like sometimes accuracy does not lead to clarity when it comes to this stuff. It does not lend itself to clarity. And clarity is the most important thing I find with telling stories. That should be his hand, his finger in the background. We'll have the panel edge be the water. Man, my layers are getting out of control now. I don't know if that hand is very satisfying. I think I need to work on it a little more. Yeah, I need to have this kind of curve around more. to resort to taking a picture of my hand and using that tighter as a tighter reference. Maybe it's like gotta be more cartoony. Ooh. If I do that, I need to center it a little better so you can actually see this finger. That's kind of funny. I'm not sure though. It's a better read. It reads okay, I mean. That just all represents water. That's what that is. Okay. What do you guys think? Do you like this hand? Let's do this. You like A or B? A or B? Anyone? Anyone? A. Like A, Charlena, huh? Anyone else? That's A or B. If I go with A, I feel like I need to use better reference of the hand so it doesn't look so amateur hour. Most people like A. Interesting. Okay. I think it would be somewhere between the two, but B reads better. Yeah. Okay, I might try to actually, since enough of you guys like A, I might try to keep that kind of feel as far as the pose And I might actually just take a picture of my hand and then go over it and push it into that style. Because that just doesn't look good. That looks bad. I mean, as far as like anatomy and stuff, it looks bad. But it does make sense. This one's more like I don't know. They both have good qualities, but no, not everything's good about both of them. Okay, well, thanks, guys. That helps. I think what I'm gonna do is spend almost 2 hours. I'm gonna go eat lunch, and I'll keep working on this when I come back. But I don't know if I'm gonna keep streaming because I think part of me is sometimes I get in a mode when I'm streaming that I'm trying to just get it right quick so that it's doesn't look so bad while you guys are watching it. And sometimes that gets in the way. So I don't allow myself to experiment as much. So that's what I'll probably do. I'll probably continue this on my own. But I really appreciate you guys watching. I just want to shout out some links if you guys want to read this comic, at least the beginning of it. Go to phobos.online. You can read the preview pages. It's a patron-only comic, so I'm giving my patrons full access. They'll see the pages before anyone else. And also this month I am having a special where if you become a $5 patron, or if you are a $5 patron, you can get the Phobos #1 softcover, which is 110 pages. It's basically this, but it'll be printed a little better. I glued on this cover, and the last pages aren't fully finished, but it's 110 pages. The back cover looks awful because that's not how it's going to look. But I will send you this, and I plan on having it sent to people before Halloween. So you got to pledge this month, though, $5 and up. And I'll send you out a survey before the end of the month saying if you want this, where to send it, if you want your name in it, what name, how many copies you want. If you want more than one copy, you'll have to probably throw in a little extra money for the extra copy and shipping. But yeah, I think it's a good deal. I'm not making any money on it. I'm going to actually be losing money on it, but I just want to get it into your hands. And I want to treat it kind of like as a thank you to patrons who are supporting me, because it's really making a big difference in my life. And I'm using it to try to increase the patronage as well. And if I can get it to my goal of $2,500 a month, then it just covers everything, all the necessities. And so I'll probably keep doing this every probably 3 months. And as long as people keep liking it and keep jumping on board, I'll keep doing this and to try to get to my goal. And I really appreciate you guys supporting this stuff. It's just, especially working on Phobos, it's like a dream come true, because you guys probably know, but I created this in high school or even junior high, and it was such a big dream for me back then. And it kind of all got crushed and fell away, and I put it on a shelf. And now to jump back into it and have people respond to it and really like it, it's really emotional for me. So because it really does mean a lot to me. It's been a story that it's silly and it's stupid, but it has a lot of weight to it as well. I'm not doing this just because there definitely is my message in it, and there's definitely a lot of good stuff in it that I really want to say. And so anyway, I just thank you for supporting it and allowing me to do this. It's just I didn't think I would be able to do Phobos again. I didn't think I'd have a way to make money doing Phobos, but people are really liking it, and so I just thank you. So that's it. That's all I got for you. thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next stream. And keep an eye out. We'll have this edited down to a 10-minute video with certain questions highlighted. If I didn't answer your question, jump on the next stream and we'll try to get your questions answered. All right, guys, see you later.